What's up, guys? I'm doing a video today. It's a couple of different subjects crammed together. I'll try to keep it as condensed as possible. In my last video, I did ask you guys, let me know a couple of things you might want me to talk about. So it's not going to be anything long, but I will just touch on those things. One person, I wrote it down. One person did want to know what changes I would make to the race schedule. As far as getting rid of certain races or adding others. I got to be honest, I haven't thought too deep into that, and I don't want to just throw things out there just for the sake of it. I will say this. I do agree with that the schedule's too long. I definitely would cut some races out. How many? I'm not 100% sure, but I would start off with 4. And the races I would cut out, definitely I would get rid of 1 Daytona and 1 Talladega race. I'm just still not really a fan of restricted plate racing. They're not going anywhere. That's never going to happen. But since somebody wanted to know, I couldn't care less if, they got rid of at least half of those races, right? I think 4 times a year is a lot for restricted plate races. I don't really enjoy them as much as other people do, but that's just my opinion. But I would get rid of 1. So I would keep the Daytona 500, of course, and 1 Talladega race. I don't think we need an extra one of each of those. So those are 2 races I would get rid of. I'm not really sure about other tracks. I do enjoy 1.5-mile cookie cutter tracks. I know that I'm probably in the minority. A lot of people seem to not like those tracks. I like them. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to convince people to like them or not like them. It's just my opinion. So I don't want to see any of those tracks go. But if I had to cut another 2 races out, I guess one I would cut is one of the Pocono races. And I'm saying that being like that's my 2 local tracks, which are not really local, but 3 hours away. They're the closest to me. One is Pocono, one is Dover. And I'm willing to see one of the Pocono races go. Even with the upcoming schedule, I do think they're doing that doubleheader next year or whatever it is they're doing. That sounds insane to me. I don't see how that's going to work. I don't know. But I could definitely get rid of one of those. And maybe one of the Michigan races. So they race twice at Michigan and twice at Pocono. I would just take one of each of those away. In terms of adding tracks, I don't know. Where can you add tracks? If we're trying to shorten the schedule because it's too long, you'd have to get rid of more tracks to add others. I don't know what I'd like to see. Tracks that I did really like are really tracks from way back that are abandoned, right? So you got Nazareth Speedway, which is in Pennsylvania. I really like that track. Way back in the day. I remember even playing it on one of the old NASCAR games. It's a unique track, or it was unique. I really liked it. I really thought the layout was really nice. It was different. So there was Nazareth. And I really liked Rockingham. Another track that's long gone and abandoned. So, those tracks are not coming back. And I would have liked to see a return to something like that, but it is what it is. But those are the tracks I would get rid of. That's 4 right there, and then you could end the season maybe a month earlier, and or even start the season 2 weeks later or 2 races later. And end it 2 races earlier, right? Because what you want to do ideally is avoid the bad weather. So the NASCAR season starts really early, and another track I think would be a good idea to think about getting rid of. And I know it's a short track, and a lot of people would not like this, but one of the Bristol races, the spring race, which we saw this year, was embarrassingly empty. One of the main reasons those races are empty is because the time of year that they've been trying to run it, it's really bad because the unpredictable spring weather has played a role in a lot of these early spring Bristol races. And, why even mess with that? I don't think it's a good idea to try to keep running that, especially seeing how empty that place was. There was a time that it was a packed house. And when that place is packed, it's special. But I don't see how they can make it work in the spring. So that's another race that possibly can go. Definitely keep the other race, which is run at night in I think in August, whatever. So that's about it as far as that goes. Another thing that one of you guys brought up that wanted to know what my thoughts were on Darrell Waltrip retiring. I know a lot of people really hate Darrell Waltrip, and I understand, right? I get it. He could, come across as a bit hammy at times, and personally, there are things I really don't like. He has shown at times he's a cheerleader for NASCAR, and in the sense that he's promoting some propaganda for NASCAR, where he's trying to convince you that you're seeing something you're not really seeing, like when he was praising this aero package and telling you how awesome what you're watching is, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Things like that, or things that drivers are doing, or when he's praising Kyle Busch and this whole, and he's not the only one. In all fairness, all of these announcers were doing it. I haven't heard too much about it lately, thank God. I hope they just quietly let this shit go with this Kyle Busch 200 win thing and this, every time he's out there and he gets a win or something, I don't want to fucking hear this bullshit. But, Darrell Waltrip's one of those guys who are trying to make, he's, like that car salesman where he's bullshitting you and he's bullshitting you. And that is the part where he rubs me the wrong way. And a lot of people, they kind of, this boogity over the top personality, a lot of people don't like it. Me personally, there are things about Darrell Waltrip which I really did enjoy. And I honestly think that in terms of his humor, he was underrated. I think that he's come up with some really funny one-liners, things that, as the race is happening, he just comes up with these things that are make me laugh and just cool stuff that only someone like Darrell Waltrip with that driver's experience from that mindset could come up with, that I don't see from any other commentator in any booth. So I think that's underrated, and I do appreciate that. And I think he's at his best when he's not trying to promote the NASCAR product. I think he's not good at that, or he just it just comes across as phony. I think he's at his best when he's just himself, freewheeling and no agenda, but he's just calling it like he sees it, right? And that unfortunately is hit and miss with him, and that's where I think he really rubs people the wrong way. But me personally, I think that when he's at his best, he's really good, and I really enjoy it. But when he's not, I'm like with everyone else, like, it's too much. So I'm not shedding tears that he's retiring, but I am saying that there was a lot of positives about him that I do think as time goes on, people will probably reminisce, look back and say, there was some stuff that he brought to the booth that are underappreciated. So, and it's good to walk away, on your own terms. So, congratulations to Waltrip. I do think he's a one of a kind. And I will miss certain aspects of what he brought to the booth. Now, all is not lost in terms of these commentators in the booth. I kind of like Jeff Gordon. I thought he was going to be a little too square, but he gives you just that right amount of analysis and from the driver's perspective, and he's definitely a toned down type of personality as opposed to Waltrip. In terms of Fox, I think that they got a lot of work to do when it comes to their presentation of these races, these commercials, the commercial breaks, all this, the whole direction of the television aspect of things needs a lot of work. And it's not things you can just fix by sticking certain people in the booth. This is above those guys. This is at the directorial level, the people making the decisions and how they, the whole presentation of Fox Sports needs a lot of work. Um, I think NBC is doing a better job, in all honesty, and I do really like. I've never been a big fan of, let's say, Dale Jr. I was never one of these diehard fans, but I did respect him and I did like his personality. I think he's a straight shooter, and I like his. He's more of a humble guy. I tend to gravitate towards guys with humility, and he always carried himself with respect and humility, and he was a straight shooter when he was a driver. I really like him in the booth, and I love his back and forth with, let's say, Jess Burton. I like Burton a lot. I think he's somebody that's kind of under the radar, and I think together, I totally prefer their work as a group over at NBC. Right? It's not perfect. They got their own issues. One thing I hate, is it Fox or is it NBC? This guy, I swear to God, I fucking hate this guy. Who's that? What's his fucking name? I'm sorry, I'm totally spazzing out. The guy with the beard, that he's always trying to be funny, and they always have him walking around like on the track and trying to be funny and doing stupid shit. What is his name? Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. He's kind of a nerd, and he's got always wearing plaid shirts and stuff. I fucking hate that guy. I hate to say it, but it's like, why is he on? Get him off. He brings nothing to the production. Anyway, I'm kind of steering off topic. It was about Darrell Waltrip, but I think there was a lot of positives that people don't appreciate, and I do understand the negatives. So, congratulations on everything, and enjoy your retirement. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is probably the most important. You guys know already, those of you who've watched my videos, you know how I feel about NASCAR games and what I'm hoping to see in the future and how important the career mode is. I wanted to bring up a video that Real Radman, a lot of you guys know who he is, he put up like a couple weeks ago. And I just saw it. I didn't know it was up. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. And I wanted to say how much I agree with the video. I love the video he put up. And the reason I like seeing that, because I've always talked about how important it is for the bigger names in the YouTube community or social media to push these messages forward, right? If they agree, of course. And I loved hearing all of his ideas for the career mode. And because these are things that are almost word for word things I talked about, like the need for deeper and more, deeper compilation of statistics and having it tie into the career mode much better. It's lacking. You guys know how I feel about that. He talked about it. He talked about customization. Even brought up custom helmets. Things I've been talking about forever. Customizable fire suits, helmets. People love customization, and it's good to see a person who's really well known in the YouTube community talking about these things, because it helps push the message. More importantly, is the fact that he has a relationship with 704. Guys like Real Radman and Jeff Favignano, they've been invited to 704. They've gotten early access to these games. So clearly 704 has a relationship. I'm not saying they have a super tight relationship where they're constantly going back and forth. I'm not saying that. But, once you get invited to go try these games at the early stages and communicate with them, that means they are on their radar. and that's what I want to see, because I realize this is a tiny, tiny, tiny channel. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not sure 704. I know you. A lot of times you guys have helped. You've pushed my videos to them and stuff like that. But let's be honest. The truth is, they're not going to listen to a guy with only a handful of followers. They're more likely to pay attention and listen to guys like Real Radman and Jeff Faviano. I'm sorry. Guys that are much bigger in the community in terms of subscribers and following. So this is why I always try to get people to like make sure that they can take the baton and push the message forward, because now 704 has there's a bigger chance that they're listening, and maybe I'm sure they're contemplating these things. And Real Radman talked about the stats, the customization, the need for a deeper and more immersive career mode, and ownership, and having money play a bigger role, and more involvement, and pre-race and post-race presentations. For me, the number one issue that's been ignored by game developers, going all the way back to EA. So these things need to be addressed. And I was excited to see a video out by somebody like Real Radman, who has a lot of followers, and I want to see more of that. So if anybody even sees this video, I want them to know that, yeah, I'm grateful. This is what I want to see. I'm not saying Real Radman got these ideas from me. I'm just saying that we all happen to agree that a lot of these problems, are things that need to be addressed, especially with the career mode. And it's it makes me feel good to see bigger names and bigger YouTubers talking about the exact same things I've been beating to death for years. So I want to see more of that, and I'm glad that a guy like that, who has been to 704, and they do have some relationship, that somebody like that is talking about it, making videos about it. That's a good thing. And there's a bigger chance that 704 is listening, and they get the message. So those are the things I wanted to talk about. I do plan on doing a video on a little bit more about the PS5, the next gen consoles, and how it ties in with the future generations of NASCAR games. In particular, one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it has to do with accessories and next gen consoles. So I'll probably do a video about that this week if I get a chance. So that's pretty much it. I look forward to your comments, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks.